This is the VO Life. Positive conversations about living the voiceover life. Insight into the business and day-to-day grind of being a regular Joe VO. From the humble beginnings to the finally hitting a new level to getting that first big client. It's all about that VO life. Here's your host, Troy Holden.
Hey, and welcome back. You have found us once again. Troy Holden here with the VO Life podcast. This week we do have a guest. Aren't you so happy? It's not just me rambling. But before we get into that, hey, let's listen to what our guest brings to the VO world.
We all know the uncontrollable rage of our children when they don't get what they want. And unfortunately, those tantrums go far beyond the typical ice cream discussions in the supermarket. Zippy loves rocks. She puts them in her pockets. She hides them in her socks. Zippy digs rocks in the garden. She wipes off the dirt. Zippy carries rocks around in her shirt.
And we have a special guest today, and I'm always glad to have people on because I bore myself to death talking to myself. It drives me nuts. So we want to welcome Angela Ohlfest. How are you, Angela?
Hey. How you doing?
I'm doing great. And you have recently picked up the new nickname Ayo.
Ayo.
So I'll try not to use that too much today. One of the things that I have, and I have known who you are for quite a while since I got into this, because you were one of those people that Anthony Pica was always recommending for this or that, and now you have launched a lot of your own stuff, and we want to get into that because I want to give you opportunity to gather more clients and get more people in and help more people. I know you enjoy doing that, and then just talking about a lot of the different things you're doing, but when I see your name pop up, the word audiobooks always comes to mind for some reason. I immediately associate you with that. That may be good or bad, and we'll kind of get into that. But first, tell everybody where you are and how you got started in voiceover.
Currently, you mean like physically? I'm in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah. Yep.
Got started about 4 years ago. I was sitting at taking a lunch, at a job that I've been in for a long time, feeling that same, that need to be fulfilled. And I'm looking at MSN or something at lunchtime, and I've come across, I think it was Carrie Olson, and she was doing an interview about the way that she had gotten into voiceover, and then she was talking about audiobooks, and I was like, oh my God, because I am such a big book nerd. I'm like, oh my God, if I could read books out loud to people and they'll pay me for it, heck yeah, I'm in. And then, of course, that led into the research phase where you start to research everything about voiceover and audiobooks. And then I discovered that's this whole world. I don't know why that never clicked before, that there was somebody behind the commercial, somebody behind the cartoon voices,
Right.
None of that really clicks.
Right.
But I'm like, oh my God, that is somebody doing all of those voices. So I was intrigued and did all my research and kind of just jumped right in.
That's really neat. And I was somewhat the same way I didn't realize where it all came from. I think that was the big aha thing for me. And especially, if it had been 10 years ago and you had to go to a studio and you had to live in a certain place, we wouldn't have these opportunities. It'd be totally different. So is it fair to say that books are a specialty or a mainstay for you? Or I know you're doing a lot of different things, but is it the niche sort of?
I think inadvertently. I started out with audiobooks, and I talked a lot about audiobooks, and a lot of people ask me questions about audiobooks. So I think therein I became sort of the audiobook person. I still do a lot of audiobooks. I'm up to just over 100 now. And I've got about 3 in my queue at the moment. So some people don't like to do audiobooks. They'd rather do the shorter commercial reads and things of that nature, but I don't mind it because I am a huge book nerd. I still enjoy reading. I still enjoy producing audiobooks. So I guess that makes me an audiobook person.
Yeah, exactly. That's the key. All my life, I've been a short story reader. I've been an article reader. I like the shorter versions. So therefore, in voiceover, I tend to go that way. I do a lot of video sales letters. It may be 7,000, 8,000 words. I do a lot of these these narrations that are 12 to 1500, but I have not tackled a book. A guy sent me a cover that he did, had my name on it and everything, and he was going to give me this book. It was a science fiction Western type thing right up my alley, and it never did come to pass. And maybe that's a good thing. And I do think this industry will guide you into your niche
Absolutely.
eventually.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, by the work you're doing, it will, by your successes. And, this kind of tells you it's something you're good at. Now, I just hate to sit and read that much.
Yeah.
I wish I could. I do. I think it's a wonderful talent to have. Now, outside of that, you were talking about character work and commercial work. Tell us about some of that you do and what you enjoy.
I think most of what I do is on the long form side. So audiobooks, e-learning, online tutorials, that sort of thing. But I do get also a lot of meditation narration. I think I just have that
Hmm.
calming, soothing voice. I
Mm-hmm.
do not so much commercial work, but I have done a few video games, which I'm still under NDA for because they're still in production, so I can't say anything about them. But I think
Mm-hmm.
apart from the long form stuff, I do a lot of meditation, like I mentioned, and also like an AI kind of voice. I think my problem is that I already sound like Alexa and Siri. So
Mm-hmm.
pulling off an AI
Mm-hmm.
voice isn't very hard.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So,
That's pretty
yeah,
neat.
I
Pretty
do
neat.
that voice a lot, I think. To replace AI voices, funny enough, that we're also worried about AI voices taking over voiceover, but I have actually recorded quite a few to replace the artificial AI voice in my own AI voice.
So, so should we be scared of AI or not? What's your opinion?
You know, I don't really know. I think there's going to be a point where it's going to be good enough. However, I don't think that we're close to anything resembling a machine being able to emote or to breathe, especially
Mhm.
when we're
Right.
talking about audiobooks, because audiobooks is a human telling a story,
Yeah,
right? So
exactly.
having
Exactly.
having an AI voice for an audiobook, I don't think is going to be anything we need to worry about anytime soon.
Mhm.
I don't know, I'm just kind of like a wait and see. I'm not
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, it'd just be interesting to see where this goes.
It will be. I've noticed, even one of the platforms now is beta testing, the AI process. So that's interesting to me, but on the same way, I'm like, I hear what you hear, when you listen to some of this. The emotions, it's almost there, but it's not
Mm,
there. You
mm,
just don't hear the feeling that you'll hear in a human
yeah,
voice. A lot of times when we read something, we're drawn into it, and we become just as emotional as the person that wrote it because we climb into that. And I just don't see them being able to electronically make that work.
yeah.
But maybe, who knows?
Yeah, and I
Maybe.
know there's some people that are embracing it and lending their voice to the AI, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about
Yeah.
that yet.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't either. I'm right there with you. I'm not usually a fence straddler, but I'm a fence straddler on this.
Yeah,
I'm just not
for
sure.
sure.
So with all that you do and as busy as you are, you're also very involved in you putting content out there on YouTube and involving people and inviting them in to learn more about what you do. Tell us about some of the offerings you have and what you can maybe help people with that are out there trying to learn about audiobooks or voiceover.
My YouTube channel started out as, just additional information, mainly about Upwork for one of the Facebook groups that I belong to, and it just became this thing where, people start to reach out to you. People like I saw a lot of myself in these people that were reaching out to me and asking questions and saying, "Thank you for this. I was trying to find this information all over the place." So it just continued to grow and grow and grow. And I started to just share what I know because, again, I found the people reaching out to me, myself 4 years ago. So
Hmm.
I find it very gratifying and validating the time that I take to make these videos with the responses I get from people trying to learn to get into voiceover and audiobooks. So, and then of course that turned into, "Hey, Angela, do you have any courses? Do you have any can I meet with you for I have this question and I don't do well with typing or, texting and all that stuff. Can I just meet with you face to
Mhm.
face? So then I decided to offer one-on-one sessions, in 30-minute increments because A, I wanted to keep costs down, and B, I'm
Mhm.
busy. So I wanted to be able
Right.
to do this. And then I also created courses. So then I have this website where everything sort of lives. And another fun thing that I started about a year ago is that I have what I call my platinum membership on my website. And for them,
Mhm.
it's a monthly fee for that, but we meet every week for about an hour or more. It's very casual. We all bring a drink and have a lot of laughs and share successes and stuff. And I have scripts for them. I have blogs. I have challenges. I have, just all kinds of fun stuff. I try to give them as much as I can. So I have
Mhm.
many different ways of learning because I realize people like to learn different ways. They like pre-recorded
Right.
content or they want to meet with you one-on-one, they want to meet in groups. So I have a little bit of everything on my website to help you learn what you need to learn or what you feel you need to learn.
Yeah. Very
Yeah,
good. Very good. And these are things that you learned on your way up, and you're just paying things forward. I think
exactly.
that's great.
Exactly. Yeah,
I think it's good that we all do some of that as best we
I
can, and
agree.
some of us that can will. There are other people that don't have that. I don't know that it's not in their wheelhouse to go out and share and teach. They're just in here grinding and doing what they can, and I respect that as well.
Yeah,
I mean, it takes all of us. It takes a village. It's
absolutely.
very interesting.
Mm.
So, as you came into this and learned, tell us a little bit about where you leaned and where you reached and kind of what got you going.
In terms of what do you mean? I'm
What
sorry.
kind of where did you grab resources from? What was somebody's coming in totally blind, they can reach out to you for sure.
Absolutely.
But is there somewhere they can go to practice or maybe somewhere they can go to get a little experience without putting themselves out there and out worrying, don't have to worry about being ridiculed or something?
Oh gosh, I absolutely I understand that 110%. Being a huge introvert, I was very hesitant about charging people for my work when I felt that I wasn't completely ready. So I understand what you're saying. I started with volunteering my time in narrating audiobooks on LibriVox.org. And I always recommend that to people if they want to volunteer their time for these are books in the public domain. So they're not
Mhm.
under copyright or anything, but you can volunteer your time to narrate a chapter and a book in its entirety. But I think that way you can learn breath control and you can develop characters. But I think mainly for me, that was a big learning curve for the formatting of an audiobook.
Mhm.
So when people tell
Mhm.
me, hey, I want to do audiobooks, and I said, well, here, do this first. Grab a book off your shelf and just try to get through a chapter. And if you're
Right.
comfortable with that, then, maybe go check out LibriVox.org and see if you can actually produce a chapter or a book properly formatted, and get comfortable with
Mhm.
that because that will help you tremendously going forward. But a lot of people find it difficult to pace themselves, especially with the breath. And that I think comes with
Mhm.
time and practice. Being a voice actor, we have to find our diaphragm, and use it. And excuse me, lung control, it takes a lot more than you would think to narrate an
Right.
audiobook.
Right, and then climb over to the editing
Oh,
side.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, if you've never done any of this, you think, "Well, I can read this much and it'll take an hour." Guess what? You got another couple of hours to get to edit. It's
Absolutely.
not easy,
Mhm.
not easy. So, do you recommend that they start with as much free stuff as possible? Go get Audacity, go do this, go do that, or what's your approach?
Yes. In the very beginning, when you're still a little hesitant, um, because you're not quite sure if this is something that you can do or want to do, because it is a lot of work. It's a lot more than you would think. Excuse me, but I think a USB mic to start is fine. I think USB mics have come a long way, even since I've had one 4 years ago. But Audacity is a great DAW, which is your digital audio workstation. It's free to use, free to download. I think I used that. I used Audacity for about 3 months, I think. And then I found Audition and it just clicked for me. There is a
Mhm.
cost to audition, of course, but I think for me, it's my DAW of choice. Um, but to your point, there's nothing that you really need to spend a lot of money on in the beginning, apart from perhaps, I think coaching is a great idea in the beginning also, because you want to know that you can act, because voice acting
Mhm.
is acting.
Right.
And I
Right.
think especially for audiobooks, you have to have a love for books. You have to.
Mhm. Mhm. Makes
Yeah.
sense. It does make sense. It's, the thing I always tell people too is you can go get this free stuff and this cheap stuff, but you can't cheap out on your environment.
Yeah, that too.
You have really got to have a quiet environment. You've got to either build a lot of them call it a pup tent, or some people call it a hobo fort, or whatever you want to call it. But you've got to do something to where it's quiet,
Yeah.
and you got to be so aware of so many things in your house. Your AC unit kicks in, your refrigerator makes a noise. You can't have that
Yeah.
with whether it's audiobooks or you're doing commercial work, or even the $5 struggling work. People are going to really beat you to death if your background's noisy. So that's not free, but that's one of the things, you got to get it right, and you got to make it quiet.
Yeah.
It's got to be very
And
quiet.
not just your
And there's
environment,
tricks.
but you have to be also cognizant of your own person. If
Oh
your
my gosh,
stomach is
yes.
grumbling, if you have,
Yeah.
a stuffed up nose, if you're wearing clothes that rustle, jewelry. I mean, you really have to be cognizant
Mhm.
of everything that could possibly make
Mhm.
noise.
That's a great
Yeah.
point. I had gastric bypass many years ago, so anytime I eat, it's like there's a new show going on,
Yeah.
and I know I can't eat lunch until I'm done reading in the mornings,
Yeah.
because then I got to wait another hour. It's awful. It's just awful, and it's just all the, like you said, the noises you don't think about. Even the roller on your mouse.
Yeah.
It's just all the little things. All the little things.
Mhm.
So this is your thing now. You really seem to love it. You love helping people. Um, what's your view on and of course, we both came into this during a time to where this industry had already changed.
Yeah.
And I think there's a divide. There are the old school, and it should have been done this way, and you shouldn't be on these platforms, and you can't be doing this and that. And then there's all of us who are we're the work from home. This is the only way you can do it. This is how we learn and how we make money. So kind of what's your take on the two sides?
I think you're right. There perhaps was a great divide. I think even at the beginning of the pandemic, when all the studios were closing down and all of the quote unquote veteran voice actors, those that have been doing this in studios for a while, started to realize that, oh my gosh, in order to continue, I'm going to have to be like the new breed and go home and make myself a home studio. I don't I don't have any kind of animosity for them. I understand their opinions and their side. However, I think that as time goes on, some of them are starting to embrace the way that we, the new breed, do things. And I think some of them that were actually opposed to signing up to specific sites and places like that and doing things the way that we do things, they're starting to warm up to these things. They won't tell
Hmm.
you.
Right.
But
Right.
I think they're starting to kind of, see things the way that we do. And I
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I actually have had a few of them reach out to me to get some tips and insights and techniques into home studio creation. So I
Hmm.
know that they're trying to just, you know, move with the times, which is a good thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Adapting is important.
absolutely. Adapt and
Things
overcome.
change. Things change. I think the old thing I used to have on my desk in the old corporate world was change is inevitable and growth is optional. So
Yes.
it's whichever way you want to go. So what's the best advice that you would give somebody today? They're listening to this and they say, "Man, I think I want to do audiobooks. I'm not doing real well with this commercial stuff. Maybe that's not my thing. Maybe I need to do audiobooks."
Mm.
Which direction do you send them?
I say if they're torn between the two, I say do both if you want. I do both. But I think for someone looking to get into audiobooks, they have to understand that like I said before, you should have a natural love for books, an avid reader, because it's a marathon. It's definitely a marathon narrating audiobooks. You have to learn breath control, pacing, tone, character voices, intent of what is being said. I mean, there's a lot. And then the editing and the formatting, and it's a lot of work.
Mhm.
So I would just say if you're torn between which way to go, I would say try both. You might like one over the other. Or, it's just, I guess, just to know that audiobooks really are a lot, a lot more work than commercials are. But don't
Right.
don't listen to that inner critic telling you that you can't do either or. It just
Mhm.
try it. As I always say, just do it.
Mhm.
Just do it and try it, and you might just love one or the other or both.
Mhm. It really makes sense if you can mix the 2 because and you're very successful on some of these platforms. You're doing really well, so you're busier, and it's hard for me sometimes to equate what a full day could be for somebody that's doing this volume versus the volume I do. I hang on to some other work because of I wanna make sure in that 8-hour day, I'm trying to work as much as I
Mm,
can. I don't want to I wanna market, I wanna do my other things, but I also need to provide income. But however, if you're early into this, audiobooks can teach you, train you, help you a lot, plus fill those hours and you're gonna make some money. Or you may be doing some of the royalty share stuff and you might not make money. But the thing is you gotta learn and you gotta learn somewhere. So why not? If it's something you can do. And is it fair to say, even if you started into that and it ended up not being what you did down the road, would it not help you in your voice acting, in your reading, being able to sight read better, or
mm.
what do you think of that?
Yeah, that's a good point. That is definitely a good point. I think, because I started with audiobooks, I can see what you're saying, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think reading the books out loud really taught me a lot about what I can and can't do in terms of my own range, just exploring new characters and character attributes, and really just learning breath control. I think that was one of the hardest things for me, and I think a lot of people
Mhm.
struggle with that because, for example, you have a book where there's a big run-on sentence, you're gonna have to find a place in the sentence where it sounds like you could give it a nice natural pause. Take that breath instead of
Right,
trying to just cram it into the last of your breath. Take that
right.
natural breath, cut it out in post, and then, have it sound or read out the rest of the sentence. But
Mhm. Good
I
point,
do wanna bring up
good point.
one thing. If someone is interested in perhaps doing books that they don't want their name on, they could always use a pseudonym.
Oh, good point.
Yeah,
Yeah, good point.
yeah.
As many do on platforms
Yes,
as well.
yeah.
Speaking back to old school, new school. Um There yeah, I think that too, and I catch myself, you're talking about reading and learning to read ahead a little bit and know what's coming. There are some days I've gotten better at that, my eyes get too far ahead sometimes,
Yeah.
and an F out of another word ends up in this word, and it's like, "Man, I've got to slow down." It does happen. But to train yourself to read a little bit ahead is really, really good, and it will help you. Um, one of the pieces of advice that I give people too is read out loud, even if you're not doing audiobooks. Get stuff and read it out loud as much as you can, or read into your phone and listen back to it and listen for those breaths and the things that you're doing. It can be a help
I always
for
recommend
sure.
listening to audiobooks yourself. Get a
Oh,
membership
good
to
point.
Audible, listen to as many audiobooks as you can, and not just the same narrator. You might have a favorite, and that's fine. But you want the different perspectives. You want the different takes
Hmm.
on character voices. You want the different takes on if do they leave a breath in? Do they not? Do they take a shallow breath? Do they just take a big old breath? And you'll even be
Hmm.
surprised to find that even some of these bigger name authors, like, for example, I was listening to a Stephen King book and there was a retake left in it. They happen. Just
Right.
to not beat
Right.
yourself up about every little thing because you are human.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
just to enjoy yourself while you're narrating an audiobook. But
Right.
listening to audiobooks has been huge for me.
Now, you were talking earlier about meditation type things and et
Mhm.
cetera, and it just hit me all of a sudden. You've done over 100 books. Is there a certain type that you do more than
Mm.
other, or how does that work for you?
I think the majority of what I do are self-help. I enjoy
Mhm,
those. I know a lot of people
mhm,
find them sort of, just mundane, but I don't. I like learning. I like learning new
mhm,
things. I don't mind e-learning books, but I think those are what I do the most. And then behind a
mhm.
close second would be, children's books and probably fantasy.
Mhm. I can hear the self-help thing, that makes sense
Yeah.
because, hearing you talk, I think, well, it sounds educated, it sounds formal, it
Yeah.
sounds like someone who would teach me something, so, yeah, your voice is definitely well suited for that. So, what about the future? What do you see, for you personally coming up and, with your career and what you're doing? Kinda some goals. What are you chasing right now?
Oh boy. I'm really just hoping things just continue on the path that I'm on. I think in the future, I'm going to reach out to publishers directly and go that route instead of
Mhm,
depending upon other sites or outside, marketing to
mhm.
direct clients, that sort of thing.
Right.
Perhaps find an agent.
Great.
So, but yeah, nothing like in the near future. I'm just happy to be on the path that I'm on and to see the work that I do.
Well,
So I'm
good.
just gonna
That's
cruise
good.
along and do what I do.
Yeah. Well, the groundwork is there, your social, presence is there, so I think you're on the right path for all of that. I think you're gonna be highly successful, and it'll continue for you. It looks good.
Thank you.
Yeah, the marketing thing,
I know.
geez, it's such a
Yeah.
challenge, so many different directions and things to do.
Yeah.
Well, some parting words for everybody out there that you'd like to leave with them that, how to get in touch with you and all those kinda things.
I would say the thing that I tell people the most is don't let fear dictate your future or your success. Or,
Mhm,
if you want to do something, just do it. But if anybody wanted to reach out to me, my website is pretty easy, voiceoverangela.com. Um, all the social media handles are the same apart from Twitter. I think I'm Angela O_VO, but I'm on TikTok. I'm on everything. YouTube. I have tons of videos on YouTube about just about anything voiceover and audiobook related.
mhm.
And everyone's welcome to reach out to me if they have a question.
Awesome, awesome. I greatly appreciate your time. I know you're busy, busy,
Yeah.
busy, and, I know everybody will appreciate hearing from you, and, hey, if you're out there wondering where to go, what to do, and you're thinking about audiobooks, here's your connection right here. It
Yeah.
doesn't get any clearer. So thanks a bunch, and I'm sure we'll see each other around the, Facebook, etcetera, group pages, etcetera,
Yeah.
etcetera.
Yep. Yep. Thank you so much. This was fun.
Oh, wonderful to have you. Thanks a lot.
You've been listening to The VO Life with Troy Holden. Check back for more episodes each week and catch up on what you've missed also. This is for you, those just living that VO life. Thanks for listening and join us again.
The VO Life intro is by Louise Porter. The outro by Liz Moya. You can pick us up on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple, and many other podcast carriers. Need to send me an email? Do it today. Troy@troyholdenvoices.com. Thanks for listening.